Hey there! Have you seen a problem like this before? Well, in today's video, we're going over dice probability. Let's do it. Alright, let's begin. What is the probability of rolling a pair of dice and getting a sum of 7 or 9 facing up in ratio form? Alright, the first thing we need to know is when you roll a pair of dice, right, there are 36 possible outcomes. And the reason there are 36 possible outcomes is because you have two dice. Each dice has 6 outcomes, meaning the total amount of outcomes is just 6 times 6, which leads us to 36. Now that we know that, we can also know that for these type of problems, each number, right, so in this case a sum of 7 or a sum of 9, there's a certain way to get there. So let's start. The lowest sum you can get with a pair of dice is 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, then 10, then 11, then 12. These are all the possible sums that you can get in a pair of dice. Now, how many outcomes does each one have? Well, 2 has 1 outcome, 3 has 2 outcomes, right? Because 2 only has 1 outcome because the only way you can get there is 1 plus 1, which means you'll need a 1 on each dice. For 3, there are 2 outcomes because the only way you can get there is 2 plus 1 or 1 plus 2, meaning there are only 2 outcomes. And the same thing, now you go up for 4, and that gets us to 3. Then 5 has 4. Then 6 has 5. And then 7 has 6 outcomes. And then now, this is the part where it changes. Now that, so 7 is the middle of all these numbers, which means now that you're going back down this way after you've gone up this way, the numbers are going to start decreasing. So this has 5 outcomes, 9 has 4, 10 has 3, 11 has 2, and 12 has 1 outcome. Because again, for 12, right, it's similar to 2, where 6 plus 6 is the only way you can get to 12. Now that we know how much outcomes each of these numbers have, we can solve this problem easily. Because we know that there are 36 outcomes in total. And so they're trying to ask us, if we get a sum of 7 or 9, what is the probability of that, right? And so we know that there are 6 outcomes to get 7, so 6, plus 4 outcomes to get 9, so 6 plus 4, that's 10. So 10 out of the 36 outcomes will result in a sum of 7 or 9. 10 out of 36 simplifies to 5 out of 18. Now this is the fraction form of the probability. We need to turn it into ratio form. So ratio form simply means that you take this fraction and just make it 5 and then this colon in between 18. And that's your answer. Alright, next problem. What are the odds of rolling a pair of dice and getting a sum less than or equal to 9 facing up? Alright, so let's look at this. So first, when you roll a pair of dice, there are 36 total outcomes. And that's because each dice has 6 outcomes. And 6 times 6 equals 36. Alright, next. So when you roll a pair of dice, there's a set of the possible sums you can get. The possible sums are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Alright? And for each one of those sums, there are a certain amount of ways to get there with 2 dice. So for example, to get to the sum of 2, there's only one possible outcome. You'd have to roll a 1 and a 1 on each dice. To get to 3, there are 2 possible outcomes, because you could roll a 2 on one dice and a 1 on the other dice, or you could switch it around and roll a 1 on the first and a 2 on the second dice. And this is the chart with all the outcomes for the number of possible sums. Now, for a sum less than or equal to 9, we have to find the odds of rolling a pair of dice and getting it, right? So all of the ones that are less than or equal to 9 are this way, of this line, okay? So we're not going to worry about whatever's over here. Just this stuff, okay? And right here, there's a total of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 outcomes to get a sum less than or equal to 9. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. 21 plus 5 is 26. And 26 plus 4 is 30. Which means 30 of the outcomes out of the 36 result in a sum of less than or equal to 9. So that means the probability is 30 over 36, which shortens to 5 out of 6. However, they're not asking for the probability in this question. They're asking for the odds. So in this case, the odds are different than the probability. See, in the probability, you're taking the amount of outcomes where you get the result you want. So in this case, a sum less than or equal to 9, there are 30 outcomes, and you're dividing it over the amount of total outcomes. In the case of odds, what you have is you have the first number is still the same, is the amount of results where you get where you want. So in this case, how many times do we get a sum less than or equal to 9? That's 30. You put a colon in between, which that colon is basically saying 32, and then whatever a number is the second number. The second number is how many times you don't get the result you want. So for getting it 30 times, that means we're not going to get it 6 times, which means it is 30 to 6. This simplifies to 5 to 1, and that's your answer. Alright, let's look at the next problem. What is the probability in ratio form of rolling a pair of dice and a sum of 4 faces up? Alright, so using the same information from the last problem, we know that these numbers right here are the possible outcomes, and these numbers right here are how much outcomes each of them has. So what this means is, right, when you roll a pair of dice, you can either get a sum of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, which is this line right here. And for each of these numbers, right, the amount of the 36 total outcomes that they take up, 2 takes up 1 of them, 3 takes up 2 of them, 4 takes up 3 of them, 5 takes up 4 of them, 6 takes up 5 of them, 7 takes up 6, 8 takes up 5, 9 takes up 4, 10 takes up 3, 11 takes up 2, and 12 takes up 1. Alright? So using this information, we can solve this problem. So they're asking us, what is the probability of rolling a pair of dice and we get a sum of 4? Well, we know that to get a sum of 4, there are 3 possible outcomes, and there are a total of 36 outcomes. Now, we know that if there are 36 total outcomes, and there are 3 of them that result in a sum of 4, that means the probability is 3 over 36, which simplifies to 1 over 12. The reason we know it's 3 over 36 is the way probability is calculated is the amount of outcomes that have the correct answer, right? So in this case, we're looking for the sum of 4. So this is the amount of outcomes that have the result. And then this is just the total outcomes. Alright? So we get 1/12, right, is our probability. However, they're asking us to write it in ratio form. So in a fraction, we write it with the number of outcomes that give us the result as the numerator and the total outcomes as the denominator, right? Well, in the ratio form, all we're doing is we're just taking that numerator, putting a colon, and the denominator right here. So in this case, we just take the 1, which is the numerator, and we put the colon in between, and then 12, which is the denominator, and that's your answer. Next, what is the probability of rolling a pair of dice and getting a sum of 8 facing up? Alright, so similar to the last problem, we can use the same information. Rolling a pair of dice has 36 possible outcomes. Alright, and for each sum, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, okay? So for each of these possible outcomes, 2 has 1 outcome, 3 has 2 ways to get there, 4 has 3, 5 has 4, 6 has 5, and 7 has 6, and then when we go to 8, it goes back down to 5, then 9 goes back down to 4, 10 goes back to 3, 11 goes down to 2, and 12 goes down to 1. Alright, so this is how much outcomes each of these numbers has. Alright, so if we're trying to see what is the probability of rolling a pair of dice and getting a sum of 8 facing up, all we have to do is we know that to get a sum of 8, there are 5 possible outcomes, and the total amount of outcomes is 36. So it's 5 over 36, and that's your answer. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing. I take a lot of effort to make these videos, and I'd really appreciate it.